Hey guys, this is the story of Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft. In the late 1960s, computers were an infant technology. Computer programs were simple, requiring information to be punched in on cards and fed to the computers. The computers themselves were huge. A single computer could fill a whole room. They were also very expensive. Only the government, very large companies, or universities could afford to buy a computer. Bill Gates was a teenager during those years, but already he had a dream. He dreamed of a world in which machines would do all the boring parts of work and people would be free to be creative and productive. He dreamed of a world with a computer on every desk and in every home, all running my software. Today, Bill Gates is watching some of his dreams becoming reality. People Weekly says of Gates, Gates is to the software what Edison was to the light bulb, part inventor, part entrepreneur, part salesman, and full-time genius. Bill Gates was born in Seattle, Washington, October 28, 1955. His father, William Gates, was a prominent lawyer. His mother, Mary Gates, was an active in civic affairs. Bill had two sisters. Bill was skinny and small for his age. Not only that, he was the youngest person in his class. But Bill Gates was smart. By the time he was 9 years old, he had read every volume of the World Book Encyclopedia. Bill attended public school until sixth grade. He was often bored in class, so his parents sent him to Lakeside School, an expensive private school. They hoped he would get the extra attention he needed there. In 1968, Bill was in the eighth grade. That was the year he got his first taste of computers. Like most schools, Lakeside School could not afford a computer. Instead, it bought an ASR-33 teletype machine. This machine could communicate with a real computer in a large company downtown. It was not long before Bill was spending every possible minute with the ASR-33. He read everything he could get his hands on. Soon he was writing programs using a language called BASIC to use through the teletype machine. His first was a tic-tac-toe program. Another student who was interested in computers was Paul Allen. Paul was 2 years older than Bill. Paul and Bill joined with two other Lakeside boys to form the Lakeside Programmers Group. Bill Gates was chosen as president of the group because he was the only one who liked to read business magazines. When Bill was just 14, he and Paul got their first job with computers. A local business had just purchased a computer on unusual terms. As long as there were bugs in the system, they did not have to pay for the computer. The business hired the boys to find those bugs. Every day after school, the two boys hopped on their bicycles and rode to work. They found so many bugs that the business never had to pay for a computer. The next year, the two boys were hired by a government defense contractor. Lakeside School gave Gates a semester off from school to work there full-time as on an important project. Paul Allen had already graduated. This experience gave them a chance to sharpen their programming skills. The boys decided they were ready to start their own company. It would be called Trafodata. Cities often needed to collect data on traffic patterns. The data would tell whether a traffic light was needed at an intersection. A rubber hose was placed across the road. When a car crossed the hose, the time was recorded on a tape. The two boys built a computer to analyze the data. Many cities hired Trafodata, but once it became known that the company was run by teenagers, business fell off. That didn't matter because Bill Gates was ready to go to college. Since he made a perfect score on the math section of the SAT, every college in the country wanted him. Gates chose Harvard. There, in 1973, he began studying law. He also spent a lot of time at Aiken Hall, the school's computer center. Gates also enjoyed reading electronic magazines. The January 1975 issue of Popular Electronics did a cover story on a computer called the MITS Altair 8800. The story called the machine the first personal computer. It could be built from a kit. There was no software for the computer, so it would not actually do anything. Yet thousands of hobbyists paid $397 for the Altair 8800. Bill Gates and Paul Allen saw that a language was needed for the Altair. They decided to adapt BASIC for it. BASIC was a simple language known to many computer hobbyists. Gates and Allen called Ed Roberts of MIT of MITS. They told him they had written a version of BASIC for the Altair. Roberts was very interested and asked to see the software. The boys said they could deliver it in 4 weeks. There was only one problem. There was no program. Gates and Allen began writing it fast. For 8 weeks, they worked day and night. Gates skipped all his classes at Harvard as the deadline neared, then passed. When the program was finished, Paul Allen flew to Albuquerque to present the program to MIT's MITS. He was chosen to do the presentation because he looked older than Gates. It was a tense time. The boys had not had a machine to test the program on. They had written the program using a manual that described the Altair. But when Allen loaded the program, it worked perfectly. The Altair was now a working computer. Ed Roberts was impressed. He offered Paul Allen a job at MIT as a software director. Bill Gates finished his second year at Harvard. That summer, he joined Paul Allen in Albuquerque. They knew it was time for them to form their own group. As Gates later wrote in an autobiography, "When I was 19, I caught sight of the future and based my career on what I saw. I turned out to have been right." The new company was Microsoft. The name came from the words microcomputer and software. Microsoft was set up as a partnership between Gates and Allen. In 1976, Paul Allen left MITS to work full-time for Microsoft. In 1977, Bill Gates took a leave of absence from Harvard, never to return to college. At the end of the year, the company moved to Seattle, Washington. They worked with other companies such as Apple Computers, Commodore Computers, and the Tandy Corporation. By 1980, Microsoft had 80 employees and $8 million in revenues, but that was nothing compared to what happened next. In July of 1980, Gates received a call from IBM, the computer giant. They wanted to meet with him that very day. Gates ran out immediately to buy a tie. IBM employees always wore blue suits and starched white shirts to work, hence the name Big Blue. Gates decided his usual working uniform of jeans and a t-shirt was not right for the occasion. IBM's project was top secret. Before IBM would reveal the nature of the project, they asked Gates to sign a non-disclosure agreement. This meant he agreed not to discuss the project with anyone else. IBM was developing a secret microcomputer. They wanted Microsoft to write an operating system for it. They also wanted basic software written for the computer, and they wanted both projects done within a year. November of 1980, a deal was drawn up. IBM would provide Microsoft with models of its secret new computer. Microsoft would develop an operating system and software. Bill Gates insisted that Microsoft would retain ownership of any software developed for IBM. For the right to use the software, IBM would pay royalties, a percentage of the profits, for each IBM computer sold with Gates's operating system, MS-DOS. That would later prove to be a costly mistake for IBM. In August of 1981, IBM introduced the IBM PC. It quickly became a standard for the computer industry. Other computer companies wanted their computers to work on a compatible system, so they also used Microsoft's operating system, MS-DOS. It was not long until Microsoft was supplying the operating system for 90% of IBM's PCs and compatible machines sold in the United States. By 1984, Microsoft's profits were over $15 million. In 1982, Paul Allen became ill with cancer and was forced to leave Microsoft. Gates now had to run the company himself. Later, Allen beat his cancer. He returned to the board of directors of Microsoft. The year 1983 was a good one for Microsoft. Gates continued to develop new products, and he hoped would become industry standards. Microsoft Windows was developed. In April of 1983, Microsoft introduced the Microsoft Mouse. Then, in September, a word processing program, Word for MS-DOS, came out. It became one of the most popular word processing programs in the world. On March 13, 1986, Microsoft went public. Now the public could buy shares or stock of Microsoft. The sales of these shares gave Gates more money to expand the company. Shares were sold for $21 each. By the end of the first day, Gates had raised $61 million for Microsoft. Gates had become a multimillionaire overnight, and he was just 30 years old. By March of 1987, the price of a share of Microsoft had reached $90.75. Since Gates owned 45% of the shares, his wealth also climbed. At the age of 31, Bill Gates found himself a billionaire. Many Microsoft employees shared in Microsoft's success. When the company was young, Gates had paid his programmers low salaries plus shares of stock. When the company went public, these employees made fortunes on their gamble with the company. Today, there are more than 3,000 Microsoft millionaires. Paul Allen and one other executive became billionaires. Gates kept building on his success. Microsoft began flooding the market with new products. These new software programs sold at computer stores for about $50 and $100. Yet they cost Microsoft only about $10 to manufacture. Clearly, the profit margin was great. Microsoft continued to grow. In 1986, it moved to a new 270-acre site in Redmond, Washington. The grounds are called the corporate campus. The average employee on the campus is 34 years old. 2/3 of the workers are male, dressing casual, usually jeans and a t-shirt. Employees work long hours, up to 80 hours a week. Yet the climate is friendly and high-spirited. There are lots of parties for employees and free memberships in the nearby health club. All the employees know that however late they work, Bill Gates will probably be there working when they go home. On January 1st, 1994, Bill Gates married Melinda French. She worked in the Microsoft marketing department. The couple had a baby girl in 1996. His competitors hope family life will slow Bill Gates down. Today, Bill Gates is the wealthiest man in the U.S. Guys, remember copy publication. This is actually was published several years ago, so he's no longer the richest man in the world. Today, Bill Gates is the wealthiest man in the United States. In 1997, Forbes magazine listed his net worth as about $40 billion and climbing. You may wonder what he does with all that money. He keeps expanding his business into new areas such as cable TV and the internet. He built a $50 million house near Microsoft headquarters. He collects art and famous manuscripts. Gates also donates money to charity. He and his wife set up the $2 billion foundation, $200 million foundation. Its purpose will be to put computers in public libraries that serve underprivileged neighborhoods. Gates donated $12 million to the University of Washington for bioengineering research. He gave the same university another $10 million for an endowment in his mother's name. He gave $6 million to Stanford University for a computer science center. Some people have criticized Gates for not giving away more of his money. In a January 30th, 1998 television interview with Barbara Walters, Gates explained his views on wealth. He said, "I will have the privilege and responsibility of taking that wealth and giving it away in a way that helps out people who haven't had the same opportunities." He went on saying, "The money will be given away in my lifetime." Gates feels he will have years to give his money away. He is still putting his energy into building his company. He shares many of his ideas for the future in an autobiography, The Road Ahead. In it, he talks about some of his ideas for new uses for the computers. He describes a pocket computer and a wallet PC. He also talks about many new software projects underway at Microsoft. Bill Gates' dream of a computer on every desk in every home is rapidly coming true. Who knows what the future will hold in the world of Microsoft and Bill Gates? Actually, guys, we know. This is publication is 1998, so it's pretty dated, and we know that computers have come a long way. All right, good luck on the quiz.